Kuna. The Springfield Kuna. So hot right now. Well, I bought one. This is going to be the review. So if that gun has been of any interest to you, stay tuned to this episode. Welcome to Gunfighter Life, where we talk about guns, gunfighting, tactics, ballistics, gear, the right way with God Almighty at the center, biblical Judeo-Christian values, and real-world first-hand experience. So, first of all, let me talk a little bit about why I went out and bought a Kuna. One, I'm blessed to own a lot of really good guns. I have a basic battery and then redundants. I'm blessed to have some really good guns. One gun that I do not own is a pistol caliber carbine. I've owned them in the past. I sold them. That should have told me something, but you know what? I should probably have a pistol caliber carbine. That was one of my thoughts. Another thought was, most pistol caliber carbines are straight blowback. No thank you. Pistol caliber gun that's got as much or more recoil than an intermediate rifle because it's direct blowback and weighs as much but is less powerful doesn't make a lot of sense. So I want a delayed of some kind action PCC. Kuna fits that. The Kuna is delayed, roller delayed blowback. That's pretty cool. Also, I honestly don't know how Springfield stays in business other than just marketing hype. They do make one good line of guns that I'm aware of, the Springfield M1As, but a lot of their guns are just something made in Croatia and stamped Springfield Armory and brought into the United States. I've never seen an XD make it through any serious training and not break. I've also never seen, including one that I had, a Springfield 1911 work at all. Everybody I know that has one is like an apologist for them. Like, if I do this and that and do this and hold it at a 45-degree angle and grip it with three hands, then it'll function an entire magazine. No thanks. Also, last legit AR training class I went to, the only one that really gave us issues, and we had a bunch of people there with a bunch of different ARs, was a Springfield. I think the Saint. I honestly don't know, but I really wanted to like Springfield. I wanted this gun to be different. I wanted this gun to be good. I was like, I'm going to try Springfield again and see if this gun is decent. That was another reason I chose this. So I wanted one. I looked for one in a store that I could mess around with. I didn't see any. I got an in-stock alert. I said in-stock alert at a fairly big retailer. When one came in, I bought it for like $1,200-ish. I don't remember the exact amount, but around $1,200. Not a cheap gun. Not MP5 or SP5 prices, but not a cheap gun by any means. So I got one. Took it home, I cleaned it, I lubed it. Let me talk about overall dimensions. It's a very compact gun, if you don't include the magazine, which we'll get to later. Very compact gun, very, very compact. However, it weighs over 5 pounds. I have full-powered hunting rifles that don't weigh 5 pounds. So it weighs slightly less than like an M4. Like a bare bones M4 to be fair, but I'm talking about this gun bare bones. But it's a lot more compact, but it's not light. So I thought, okay, it's going to be heavy, but it might be good for like a bag gun or something like that. Ergonomics. Because of the laws in America and the pistol brace thing, the length of pull is really short, so you're kind of scrunched up when you shoot it. But ergonomics are basically like that of an AR-15. Mag release in the same place, safety in the same place. It's ambidextrous, but I mean, unless you're a lefty, that's not really a big deal. But basically like an AR-15. So decent controls, decent layout as far as loading, unloading. The only real difference, considerable difference in the ergonomics and the manual of arms is that instead of having a rear charging handle that doesn't reciprocate like an AR, have a forward-mounted charging handle that doesn't reciprocate. But other than that, basic functionality similar to an AR. You have a roller delayed system rather than a multi-lug rotating bolt face. Has M-lock, has a folding pistol brace. You can fire the gun when folded. It's all good. The sights on it actually are one of the best things about this gun. The sights on it are phenomenal. The sights are really good. They have just like really minimalist pistol sights, and then they have flip up really good like rifle style sights, like an MP5 style sight, or even better. The sights on this thing are fantastic. They're not big, they're not gaudy, but they're fairly precise. They're good, they're well thought out. They can fold down to be minimalist. You can co-witness with them. Again, the sights, they're phenomenal. It's got a standard flat top rail on top, a pretty generous amount of real estate to mount pretty much any optic you would want on there, or a combination. You should have plenty of room if you want to mount a red dot and a magnifier. Well, that's all good. All good stuff. Now, I said I took it apart and cleaned it and lubed it up, which I recommend you do with any new gun that you get. Don't just take it out to the range and shoot it, right? Clean it and lube it. Field stripping this gun is maybe the second favorite part for me. The field strip on this gun is phenomenal. The field strip is fantastic. You could tell it's kind of made for like military law enforcement contracts. It's grunt simple. It's super simple, no tiny moving parts to worry about, captured pins, really simple disassembly, reassembly. Field strip, cleaning, it's a breeze, it's really good. It would be good in the field. That is top notch. Okay, so let me talk about actually shooting it. Loading up and shooting it. The trigger on this gun is atrocious. It is really bad. It's like if a double action revolver mated with a Glock Gen 4, which Glock triggers are bad. A Gen 4 is probably the worst of all the Glock triggers. Imagine if you had all the heavy long travel of a double action revolver, but with all the grittiness and springiness and sponginess and grittiness, and just general displeasure of shooting a Glock. And you combine those and they had a baby and vomited that trigger into this lower on the Kuna, that would be the trigger that this gun has. But this gun just screams, shoot me fast. And to be fair, you can shoot it fast. If you just want to do a mag dump for YouTube or something or whatever, TikTokagram, yeah, you can shoot it fast. But if you want to shoot it fast and precise, which is what really matters, this trigger just is horrible. Not only is it heavy and gritty and like, it doesn't even have like, it's worse than a Glock trigger. It doesn't even have stages. And I'm not talking about heavy. It's probably like 5 or 6 pounds. Heavy is not what I'm talking about. Everybody only worries about the poundage. That's like you picking out a pickup truck based on how much it weighs. Two trucks that weigh the same, but one is a Cummins diesel and one's a gasoline V8 or one's a EcoBoost V6. One's got a tow package, one doesn't. Like, hopefully you get what I'm putting down. That the weight is just one component of the trigger. The trigger is just bad. You guys probably know what I think about Glock and Glock triggers. If I could snap my fingers and have a Glock trigger in that gun, I would put it in there, which tells you something. So the trigger is just bad. And it doesn't take AR triggers. It doesn't take any other common like drop-in trigger. Nobody makes a drop-in trigger for it. They make a different trigger shoe, but the shape of the trigger is not the problem. The grittiness and pull and griminess and general discomfort and malaise of the trigger is what's bad. And that's not rectified by a different trigger shoe, I don't think. So it's got a really, I just can't overstate how miserable that trigger is, which kind of takes some of the pleasure out of shooting it. Also, it's not really comfortable to shoot. It's less powerful and more obnoxious to shoot than like a decent short-barreled AR, like an 11, 12-inch AR. It's only 9mm, so you wouldn't think that. And especially, I thought, this gun's a 9mm, it weighs 5 pounds, and it's delayed blowback. This thing should be a kitten. Well, it's more like a panther with rabies. Just, it's not fun to be around. It's not horrible, right? It's a 9mm. It's not crazy in the recoil, but I thought for the size and weight of this gun and the features, it would be more pleasant to shoot than it is. Again, less pleasant for me to shoot than a short-barreled AR with a brace, which is, again, much more powerful even out of a short barrel. And the stock, I'm no noob to pistol braces. This is like I forget who makes the brace, but it's like they tried to design it with bad ergonomics. I don't know how else to put it. Pistol brace from way back in the day a long time ago, before the ATF was like, oh yeah, they're good to go. Like, even the original like SIG brace, they're way better than this brace. I don't know what's going on. It's like they designed it to be like a knife blade. I'll routinely go out and shoot a whole bunch of slugs out of a shotgun. I shot this thing and I didn't even shoot it a bunch, and I had bruising on my collarbone, which and not because I had a ton of recoil, because it was just focused into like a knife's edge on your shoulder. So you'd have to do something about the brace, which you could do, and it just takes a 1913 rail on the back, so you could get an entirely different brace. But then again, you're $1,200 and you're spending several $100s to replace the brace, and you still got a gun with a pretty bad trigger. Now, I should say, in all fairness, there is another company that makes a different lower for the Kuna, because the upper is a serialized part, much like a Scar. Like a Scar, the upper is serialized, the lower is not. There's another company, I forget who, they make I can't comment on the quality of the product because I don't have one, but they make an entirely different lower for this gun that lets it take AR triggers, probably because this trigger is so bad. Then again, you're getting, the lower I think is several $100, a couple $100, I forget. But whatever, you're spending $1,200 on this, then you're getting a different lower, then you have to get different magazines because it doesn't take the original magazines, and then you have to get drop-in trigger for an AR, which is $100 to $200. You're getting pretty high up there to make this thing a decent gun, in my opinion. But somebody, to be fair, does make a different lower for it, so you could get a drop-in decent trigger for it if you wanted to spend $300, $400, $500 for a trigger. Also, that would let you use different magazines. I think the lower takes the Scorpion magazine. I could be wrong about that. Maybe it takes MP5 or something. It takes a different magazine. Here's my big issue with these magazines. They're good magazines. They're good. They function well. They have metal feed lips. They're not expensive. I don't really care. I don't want it to take Glock mags. I'm fine that it takes proprietary mags. I couldn't see anywhere, even on Springfield's website, where they sold anything other than a 30-round mag. And again, if you want to do mag dumps for the internet, 30-round mag is fine. But one of the really cool things about this gun is that it can be super compact when folded. Then you throw in a giant 30-round banana magazine. All of a sudden, it's not super compact anymore. So I have to either carry it unloaded, which is lame, or I have to carry it with a giant magazine sticking out of it, which kind of negates one of the few use cases where this gun would be useful. It'd be way better if you could get 30 rounds, 20 rounds, 15 rounds. Now, to be fair, this gun it's been around, 2 years or something like that? It's not been around forever. I'm sure eventually somebody, if it catches on, will make an aftermarket magazine. But for right now, it looks like 30 rounds or bust. Like 30 rounds or single shot. Take your pick. So there's that. Now, let me come back with some positives. It is incredibly reliable. I shot it with at least 6 different loads that I can think of. It didn't have a single malfunction. Not one. Not even a hiccup. Not even a kinda didn't go into battery. Functioned flawlessly. In fact, it reminds me of, and now it's roller delayed and not rotating bolt. But if you look at this and look at one taken apart, if you're familiar with a Scar, it looks like a baby shrunk down 9mm Scar. Very similar to that. And it looks like it's made very robust, very rugged. So it does not look fragile at all in any way. So I'll give it marks for that. It does look like it's made with a good, rugged, robust, simple design, which I like. Again, it kind of looks like a shrunk down baby Scar. And I'm a big fan of the Scar. Phenomenal, very good platform. So 0 malfunctions. That is awesome. I did some, now this may sound ridiculous because it seems like everything, if it's a bolt action rifle, it seems like everybody, all they care about is accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. Give me another cheap plastic push feed that shoots sub MOA, and that's all they care about. A lot of other guns, it's hard to even find accuracy testing. It seemed like back in the day when you looked at a gun review, pistol or rifle or P.D.W. or whatever, they would have an accuracy standard, and they would say what it shot, accuracy with a few different loads. Nowadays, again, unless it's a bolt gun, it's like, oh yeah, I shot a steel plate at 10 yards and it hit the target, so it must be pretty accurate. Okay, so I mounted, this may sound ridiculous, getting back to the review, but I mounted a 4X scope on top of this gun. Because I have one lying around. I wanted to test it for accuracy off a bench. This is not a gun meant to be shot off a bench, but if you want to do load development and load testing, you should probably shoot it off a bench. Okay, so I tested like 6 different loads. The best I could get was a round, and I did measure it with a caliper, right? I measured it with a Right in the Rain notebook with a ruler on it. But the best I could get was 3 MOA. The worst I could get with like NATO ammo was about 6 MOA. Maybe not the worst, but with like NATO ammo, I got 6 MOA. So you could decide that's great or horrible or whatever. It's not a bolt precision gun, but a lot of handguns, right? A lot of handguns, I believe, can do better than that. A good Beretta 92 off a rest can, I think, likely outdo that. A good 1911 or 2011 can outdo that, in my opinion. A good Smith & Wesson revolver should be able to outdo that with wad cutters. So, this is a $1,200 gun. It's not like it's a cheap gun. So take that for what it's worth. 3 to 6 MOA in my testing, off a rest, with a 4X scope. Okay, so let me try and be fair to this gun and not lie to you and not be overly harsh. I really wanted to love this gun because I wanted Springfield to make another series that I like. Like, they make the M1A and they're decent guns. Everything else that I know that I have actually used, I have never been impressed with. I wanted to love this gun. I spent $1,200 on it. I did not love it. I shot it a bit. I did this test. I did this review for you guys, and then I've already sold it. So there you go. What do I think about it? I already sold it. By God's grace. Nothing wrong with the gun, and it's a hot gun right now, so I figured if I sold it right away, I'd probably get a decent amount for it. I lose a little bit of money, but anyway, I already sold it. I considered keeping it. I could have kept the $1,200 gun and then bought several $100s in a lower, all different magazines, which adds up, whatever the drop-in trigger that I wanted to go for with it, and then I would still have a 3 to 6 MOA gun. When I'd have to spend several $100s more for a brace that I actually enjoyed shooting with it on the gun. So we were around, $2,000 now? Right, so I thought about it. I considered doing all that to it and putting all the time and effort into it, but I'm still going to have, it would be a decent gun. When I'm spending $2,000, I'd like a good gun. How can I summarize this in a what I think is a fair way that you would probably be able to understand? It's basically, the best way I can describe it, it's a 5-pound, $1,200 Glock. Simple, it works, it has bad ergonomics and a very bad trigger. But some people will get that will get them super excited. They're like, $1,200 5-pound Glock, cha-ching, yes, take my money. Some people will want to vomit in their mouth a little bit and be like, oh. But to be fair, some people, yeah, it's really going to excite you. If a $1,200 5-pound Glock that's going to look cool on whatever social media thing you want to post on, if that excites you, then this gun is for you. And to be fair, it was reliable. It's like a Glock is reliable. I won't take that away from them. So that's what I think about this gun. As you can tell, I am not sponsored by Springfield or the nation-state of Croatia. Tactical tip of the day, there are 3-point, 2-point, and single-point slings. In general, I recommend a 2-point sling for the vast majority of things. For a gun like this, I put a single-point sling on it when I was testing it. There's not a lot of real estate for a 2-point sling, nor do you really necessarily need one. I'm not saying you're wrong if you put a 2-point sling on this gun. You certainly could. A single-point sling, it's basically a big pistol, so you just hang it around you like tactical bling. The main point of the single-point sling for this type of weapon is so you don't get shot with your own gun. And now it's still possible. You can still shoot yourself in the leg or something. But what I'm talking about is if you go around a corner or something and you end up in a fight for your own gun, it's a lot harder for an adversary to turn that gun around and shoot you with it because it's attached to you. Like grabbing it and pulling it away from you and then using it on you. That's a lot harder if you have a single point sling attached. So if you have to just drop the gun and transition to a pistol. A lot easier if you have something like a single point sling on a gun like this. Basically what it's for, the gun, right? To me, a single point sling on a gun like this makes the most sense. In general, the vast majority of other things, even a short barreled AR, I prefer a 2-point sling. But single point slings do have their place. This is one of the small places where I think they make sense, so consider it for a gun like this. Tactical verse of the day. Here is what I have seen. It is good and fitting for one to eat and drink and to enjoy the good of all his labor in which he toils under the sun, all the days of his life which God gives him, for it is his heritage. As for every man to whom God has given riches and wealth and given him power to eat of it, to receive his heritage and rejoice in his labor, this is the gift of God. For he will not dwell unduly on the days of his life because God keeps him busy with the joy of his heart. Comments. We have a good, merciful, loving God. Let's make sure we thank him for the good things in our life. Probably never be able to do as much as we should, but we should thank him for so many good things that we have, especially when there's so much darkness and evil in the world. I'm not saying to ignore that, but I'm saying don't let it all be that. Remember the goodness and mercy of God. Thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.